Hey everyone, welcome back to another podcast of Lifeaneur. This is your host, Rob Clark, and today we're going to talk about stuff. And every day we really talk about stuff that, people don't really focus on. They don't really put a lot of value on this, and they really don't look at the financial benefit, the mental benefit, or the physical benefits of some of these topics. But I'm telling you, for the people that are actually listening to this, and you're listening to understand, you're not listening to criticize, you're not listening to be objective, you're not listening to feel like a victim, and you're not listening to find inconsistencies in what I'm saying, but you're actually listening to find value and see how you can actually benefit your world and find actionable content you can use today to better your life, better your family's life, right? If this is you, if you're that individual, this topic that I want to talk about is labeled "Everything Starts and Ends with Your Belief System." Everything starts and ends with your belief system. Whether you believe that you can do something or not, guess what, my friend? You're right. You are 100% right. And I try to tell this, and it starts so young. Parents have no idea how young that these things start. So young. And let me give you an example. We have certain kids at certain ages who are like 5, 9, 12, 13, and they go on America's Got Talent, right? And they can sing the roof off that audience. Just go crazy, go ham, get the golden buzzer, all of the amazing cool things that are there. Well, what made those kids know and be willing to grind it out for hundreds of thousands of hours in their craft, making no money and not spending time with friends, not spending time on their iPad or their phone, but they wanted to focus on learning how to sing or dance or be a magician or be a flexible, what do they call that person who's flexible? Contortion, right? Contortionist. My daughter, we went down to Fremont Street in Vegas over a year ago. And she saw this older gentleman. He's about 50-some years old. He wears a snake-like skin outfit. It's a one-piece outfit. And this guy's about 6'3". And he can contortion his body almost in any position. It's just absolutely insane. He's been doing it for 20 years. He also has a studio. He performed for Ozzy Osbourne. And my daughter saw that, my youngest one, and she spent the last year and a half practicing, watching YouTube videos and everything else. And now she can do the splits. She can touch her head with her toes. She can do about 30 other positions. She can walk upside down, inverted. It's like absolutely insane, right? But it's the fact that she saw somebody else do it and said, if that person can do it, then I can do it, right? But in today's society, man, so many people don't think like that. They don't see that, another person can do something and they can do it. Instead, 90% of you guys look and see what that person does and says, I can't do that because they have money and I don't. I can never be this because they have that coach and I don't have that coach. So you guys look and try to find every excuse possible to be able to explain to yourself and justify yourself why you can't do something. And I'm here to tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that you can do whatever you tell yourself you can do. That the only person stopping you from doing what you want to do as yourself. Accept responsibility and realize that the biggest person holding you back in life is yourself. And I want to go through a lot of different examples to give you supporting calculated evidence to prove to you my points, right? And again, one of them was my daughter. She was 9 years old when she wanted to learn contortion. And now she's 10 and she could literally do more than almost any adult could ever do because she did one thing that we don't like to do. Practice. Be willing to go through a little bit of pain. Be able to understand that people are going to be better than you, and that's okay. It doesn't matter about how good you are now. It's how good are you after 500 tries? How good are you after 1,000 tries? How good are you after 10,000 tries? I want to give you some statistics. If you have never played basketball a day in your life, and you buy a basketball and you go to the gym and you shoot your first 100 shots, I'm going to be honest with you. 99% of you are going to suck. You're going to suck. The first or second time you play against people in 2-on-2, 3-on-3, whatever the case may be, 5-on-5, if you have the cardio, you're going to suck. People on your team are going to complain about that you don't know about positioning, you don't know about passing, you don't know how to shoot, you don't know how to dribble correctly, you don't know how to do defense and be able to stop somebody from trying to shoot on your bucket without following them, right? Without causing an accident or injuring somebody. You're not going to know those things in the first 100 times or the first 50 times. Now you will start to pick it up, and round 50 will definitely be better than round 40. But you have to get through the 40s to get into the 50s. You can't jump from the 12th grade to the 5th grade. You just have to go through the grades. You just have to go through them. It is a process of life. And the people who are willing to dedicate themselves and discipline themselves, the most consistent, the most committed amount of time that they can do, the better. And then what comes into effect is once they get intelligent, they get muscle memory, they learn how to do things effectively. Guess what they turn into? They turn into talented. They turn into somebody who's talented, who's gifted. You're just gifted. You know, those 10,000 shots, the 10,000 free throw shots or the three-pointer shots, that didn't help you. You're just gifted. You just have those gifts. You're 1 inch taller than me. I'll never be able to have that stuff, right? If you're telling yourself that you can't do something or something is holding you back or whatever, don't make excuses and justify your belief. So that's your subconscious comfort zone trying to tell you, listen, it's easier to sit on the TV and watch LeBron James shoot three-pointers than it is to go to the gym and practice your three-pointer. It's easier to just accept that these kids who are gamers, that other people are way better than them, and because they're so much more advanced than they are, that I should just be a spectator, that I shouldn't actually pay attention. You know, the world of gaming is absolutely blowing up, and the eye-hand coordination, the anticipation that these kids, these Gen Zs, these millennials have to have in order to game on these levels, to get ESPN's attention, to be able to get millions of followers on Instagram and YouTube and everything else. It is not a gift. It is repetition. If you do something 10,000 times, you'll be better than the people who did it 500. If you do something 20,000 times, you'll be better than the people who did it 5,000 times. It's simple math. It is repetition, muscle memory, and mental memory, right? In charge of stuff. Now, if you have ever played a video game with a 9-year-old kid who has, let's just say, has 300 hours in it, and you have no idea why, or you have no idea that he has 300 hours or 500 hours or 3,000 hours, right? And he says, Auntie Tara or Uncle Jay, come play this game with me. Come play this game with me. Please, will you just please play this game with me? Just please play this game with me. And they finally talk you into playing it. And they're like, here, you can go first, right? And then what happens is, it's a shooting game. So you got to go there and shoot, boom. In about 1.2 seconds, you died. And then your nephew says, hey, it's my turn, right? And he sits there and he plays for 42 minutes straight while you watch him play. And he destroys everybody in that game until the last little person. Then he dies and hands it back to you. Man, that was the last person. If I would have got him, I would have won the level, right? And then you play, and this time you play and you make it for 4 seconds rather than 1. Or even 8 seconds rather than 1. And then he goes, oh, good try. My turn, right? And then you don't want to play anymore. You don't want to play with him anymore. And what you just taught your nephew as an adult is that it's okay to quit on something you're not good at. Right there in that moment, you taught him that it's okay to do that, right? Because you weren't having fun, because you weren't as good as he was, you taught him that when you're not good, you can just quit, right? And so what I'm trying to tell you is that these subconscious messages that we're sending our kids, our aunts, our uncles, people that we want to influence and everyone else, right? We're sending them these subconscious messages that are saying it's okay to quit. So if you're a dad right now and you won't play basketball with your kid because he's better than you, you're just telling him that something he's not good at, it's okay for him to quit. You don't realize you're telling him that because it's easier for you to go watch TV and it's easier for you to go chill on your nice lazy boy than it is to go out there and work with him and go do that stuff, right? And push and motivate him because he has something that he's interested in or she's interested in, right? It's just easier, right? We have to be able to lead by example. Lead by example, And I'm mostly telling you because I want to tell myself. Through telling you, I'm telling myself as well, right? And so whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. But here's the trick. Belief is not enough. Jarrett, can I believe that I'm the world's greatest, football player, right? I played football for a long time. Did I have the greatest support system? No, I absolutely did not have the greatest support system at all. Could I had a better one? Sure. Did that stop me from enjoying the game of football? No, it didn't. What stopped me from playing the game of football was injuries and life and my limiting beliefs. Could I went to the pros? I believe I could have went to the pros. I'm 6'2", 300 pounds, and I move a lot faster than people think a big boy should move. But my priorities were different. I joined the military instead, right? I wanted to join the military. But you know why? Because I had ego and pride at such a young age. And, my ego always made me look at the excuse, the coaches don't see in me what I see in myself. Right? Even though they're only seeing what my output is, right? They're not seeing my belief. And so if your output isn't good enough to be on the field 24/7, then that's your fault. Your output needs to be able to reflect what the coaches, the decision makers can see. Now, a lot of people, have you heard anyone say, oh, well, the coaches didn't do this, or the coaches didn't do that, or the coaches this, or the coaches that, right? Like the coaches make all the decisions. The coaches control all the actions and everything else. No, the coaches are basically calculators, right? Their goal and objective is one thing: to be able to try and put the best people in the right positions for the longest period of time to try and lead their team to victory. It's a calculation. Everything is a calculation. There might be 5%, there might be 7% favoritism on certain teams. I'm not saying coaches aren't human, right? Name one person that wouldn't subconsciously, not consciously, but subconsciously favor their kid if they were on their team. I could not honestly say that I 100% wouldn't look subconsciously to favor my son on a football team that I was coaching for. I 100% couldn't say that because I honestly, looking from a nurturing standpoint, looking from a logical standpoint, my emotions and my mind would subconsciously want to give my son more chances than other kids that I might be objectively to, right? And is that unreasonable? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why I'm not a coach, But I empathize. I understand that, right? And so getting back to your beliefs, what are your beliefs? These are questions that I want you to ask yourself. What are your beliefs? What is your obsession? What are you passionate about? How much time a week are you spending on your passion? Is it making you money now? What's your strategy to get it to make you money in the future? Is that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, right? I'm doing this podcast and I built a company called Lifeaneur, which in my opinion gives people the actionable content they need to be successful in the 21st century. Now, success to me does not mean you make a lot of money, but it does mean that you live free. You master leverage and you learn to live free. Now, if you need $50,000 a year to live free, then getting there is actually a lot quicker than somebody who needs $500,000 a year to live free. It's right now, money is just a measuring stick. That's all it is, right? And people don't realize how little $50,000 really is. And then on the contrary, how large $1 million actually is, right? People talk about $1 million like it's so small, but then they work at a job to make $50,000 and feel like they're accomplishing the world. People will always overestimate what they can do in a year and will always underestimate what they can do in a decade. And that's the science, people. That's the science. If you believe that you can do anything in this world, and you believe it so much that you're willing to take action steps, you're willing to fall, you're willing to fail, you're willing to get up and do it again, you're willing to look at the experience of what you did. You looked at it through Thomas Edison's eyes. Thomas Edison, he wasn't the greatest human being, right? He was the world's greatest creative mind in the 20th century, I believe, in the 19th century. But he wasn't the greatest human being. He had limited beliefs. He didn't like it when Tesla created indirect currents and it was a competition versus him and Tesla. He didn't like that. He tried to do all kinds of things to be able to show that Tesla's creation of electricity and his were much different and that Thomas Edison's electricity was much better. Even though today we don't actually even use any of Thomas Edison's direct current. We use everything on Tesla's indirect current. Everything is indirect current. The reason why is it's 5 times more powerful. and it can travel 1,000 times farther, right? That's how Niagara Falls is able to power the whole East Coast and not just 20 miles of New York State. You know, it's a big difference. And so, but I want to go over like the Thomas Edison effect, the mindset of Thomas Edison, right? Thomas Edison was probably in his day and age the most creative human being ever, hands down, right? He has over 1,000 patents. That means that he problem solved over 1,000 things so effectively, so efficiently, so consistently that he finally created what he wanted to do over 1,000 times. And one of those just happened to be the electric lamp, the light bulb. Now, do we still use the light bulb today, 130 years later? Yeah, absolutely we do. Do we still have lights in our home? Do we still light the streets? Do we still have, lights on our phones now? Everything we do is lights. That's why if you go to Las Vegas at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can see the lights from 20 miles away like it was sunshine, like it was a star. It's so lit up over there, right? But did you know that Thomas Edison didn't try 5 times to create the electric lamp? He didn't try 10 times to create the electric lamp. He didn't try 100 times or 200 times. He tried over 1,000 different experiments that cost money every single time before he actually conducted the electric lamp. 1,000 times. Now, I want you to tell yourself, and I want you to think about this. Name one thing you've ever tried 1,000 times. Name one thing you've tried 1,000 times. And if you actually tried something 1,000 times, how good are you at that? Is that a strength that you have now? Is it a strength because you're gifted and you're talented, or is it a strength because you're consistent, you enjoy it, you like the game, you like what you have done? That's why you do it repetitionally all the time. That's why you can do it blindfolded. You ever see these guys that go upside down and they're in the army in a movie and they're assembling their gun upside down, blindfolded, and they're timing themselves 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, right? And they're doing it blindfolded upside down. Why are they doing that? Because they're trying to put themselves in the worst real position possible and to be able to still be able to defend themselves on a muscle memory reflex within seconds. That's why. Because in a perfect world, you're going to be standing facing your competitor or facing your enemy and then loading your gun while they're loading it as well. And hopefully you can get it done faster, right? But in the real world, does everything go perfect? Do you always be standing up? Your uniform's always crispy. Your hands are always clean. It's never just raining. It's always perfect weather. No. That's why football players practice in the rain. That's why we practice in the snow. That's why I'm kind of more of a rugby fan than I am a basketball fan. Or I'm a football fan a little bit more than I am a basketball fan. Because when people play basketball, whether it be males or females, college or pro, I like basketball. I love to play basketball. But the conditions are always perfect. Everything is always perfect. Now people do get fouled out and, people get out the games and people get injured. That's great. But I'm talking about the weather conditions. The weather conditions are always the same. It's always indoors. It's always no wind. It's always a really nice basketball court. It's always a lot of fans when they're watching college basketball, right? It's always perfect conditions. When you're watching, the Buffalo Bills play football, you'll realize that whatever reason, when it comes to November in Buffalo and you got that 6 inches of snow, that team from San Francisco, that team from San Diego, that team from Dallas, they don't want to go to Buffalo. with 10 inches of snow. They're not acclimated to the cold weather the way the Buffalo Bills are, or the New Jersey Jets or the Giants, right? These West Coast teams that don't experience any weather, when they come to New Jersey, they come to New York with a foot of snow. They come to Buffalo with 2 feet of lake effect snow. You'll see a difference in playing ability, right? Remember the Buffalo Bills in the 1990s? Like, dude, they would annihilate Jim Kelly. Remember that? Oh my God! And Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed. These guys just had the work ethic. Did you know that Thurman Thomas, they called him the Tank? And the reason why is because he would walk on a Stairmaster until it broke. This guy would break 2 or 3 Stairmasters a year at the workout facility in Buffalo when he was with the Buffalo Bills, right? He had the most sacks ever in the NFL, ever. He got those at the Redskins, but he was amazing, right? Now, let me ask you a question. If you've ever walked on the Stairmaster, you just walked, not running up these stairs, you just walk on the Stairmaster, how entertaining are you? It's pretty entertaining? No. You have to have a phone, some water, hopefully a video's playing, and even at that point, it's pretty boring, okay? I'm not going to lie. It is. But for whatever reason, Thurman Thomas was able to get over that and spend hours challenging himself to get to the level where he's breaking 2 and 3 of these machines every year in the 1990s. It was absolutely, so ridiculous, right? You ever see the guys at Google, like how their brain works? I've seen these companies, they actually do what's called a paper airplane competition. It's insane, right? So when I think of a paper airplane, I think of a traditional 1 sheet, 1 fold, or maybe a 6 fold or whatever, but 1 sheet of paper, folded all up, looking good. And you throw it, it glides for about 2 seconds and cannonballs to the ground, And some of these guys have, some of these big conglomerate companies, these Fortune 500 companies, they try to have fun days and creative days and install teamwork training programs, which are genius. And one of them set up a program, I don't think it was Google, it may have been Google, where they had a contest and you had 24 hours to come up with the best paper airplane you could possibly come up with. And dude, would you believe the one that won looked just like a C-17 Air Force plane? Looked just like a paper airplane that looked like a C-17. This thing probably weighed, no exaggeration, 10 to 11 pounds. It probably was literally close to 500 or 600 sheets of paper. Did you know that this thing had windows? It had windows, like a C-17 has windows in the front and everything else, right? It was crazy. And they threw it in the air. This thing glided 300 yards and landed perfectly. It was unreal. But I would have never even thought in a million years myself that something like that in a paper form would have been possible to create from hand, Because my beliefs weren't involved in that environment. They weren't involved in that culture. They're not involved in that relationships of other people who think that far outside that box in that level of creativity, right? And so this is where I want to talk about is your limiting beliefs that you potentially have now. Whether you admit it or not, you have them. The only problem is do you want to keep them or not? If you want to keep them, then play a victim and act like you don't have any. Right? If you want to evolve to the next level, the only difference between you and Elon Musk is your beliefs, right? Elon Musk chooses to push the status quo. Bill Gates chooses to push the status quo. Steve Jobs was the biggest pusher of the status quo. He didn't care. He don't care what you think. I want to push. I want to test. I want to reach the limits, right? Now, we may not all agree with their communication skills, right? Steve Jobs had horrible communication skills, right? We all saw the movies, and if you haven't seen the movie, go look it up, right? But his level of creative was insane. He was a thinker outside of his time, So was Thomas Edison. So was Albert Einstein, right? So was Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Wynn, Warren Buffett, right? These people are thinkers outside their time. Ray Dalio. I mean, the mathematical genius, trades for like China and all these other people in order to invest with a guy on the level of Ray Dalio, who's like the Michael Jordan of investing. Literally, hands down, the Michael Jordan of investing. Ray Dalio. If you never heard of this guy, look this guy up. On YouTube, look him up on Google. Let me just tell you, right? Tony Robbins, about 7 years ago, wrote a book called Money Master the Game. I read the book, then I listened to the book. I like Tony. Tony, he spits out a lot of really good content. I like Tony, right? I may not agree with everything that he says or does, but I love his content. He's got great content. Jim Rohn has great content. Brian Tracy, great content. I watch and I follow these guys, right? So Ray Dalio was basically the featured guest on this book, Money Master the Game. And Tony, he interviewed Ray Dalio when Ray Dalio didn't want to be interviewed. Tony he's a persistent guy. I love Tony because he has that power of persuasion. He's good at that. Anyway, so he got Ray Dalio to spit out his stuff to be able to invest in Ray Dalio's hedge fund, which is about 10 times bigger than the normal hedge fund. This one is about $160 billion of a hedge fund. And the normal one is about $16 billion. And in order to invest in Ray Dalio's fund, you have to have a net worth of $5 billion at minimum and be able to invest $100 million over 13 years ago. Which means even if you had that now, you still couldn't invest in his fund. Because $160 billion is not fast. You know how we have fiber optic cable? And you can get in and out of the market in like microseconds, right? To take advantage of those positions, not lose those hashtags, those ticks or whatever, you know what I mean? And his money takes too long to leave the market at $160 billion. And so he won't even take anyone's money because of how long it takes to get out of that position. It really affects with his margins, his numbers. Those decibels, those 1/10,000ths of a point, right? Those 110,000ths of a point, right? Those micro little decimals. They mean huge dollar amounts. We're talking about millions of dollars for Ray Dalio, right? In those little decimals. And he can't do it. But now, why would somebody like Ray Dalio, right? Why would he be willing to invest 10 times more than the average hedge fund? Why would he be willing to do that? Why is he the only guy statistically broken down over 30 some years being able to beat the market year after year after year? Why? Why is he considered the Michael Jordan of trading, assets, paper assets, in the market? Why? And the simple thing is his beliefs, his priorities, his commitments, his discipline, his character, right? Do you think reading these charts are fun? No, they are absolutely astronomically boring for the first few years until you start to learn how to read in between the lines, right? Creating an Excel sheet that breaks down your business and your numbers and your percentages, it's not fun. It's freaking boring. But once you figure out a pattern on doing your numbers every single day and putting them in there, you can start to predict profit margins, right? So my wife, she has a dog grooming business, right? I make her do the numbers every single day. What's your services? What's your total revenue? What's your sales taxes? What's your payroll? What's your payroll added the 15% for Social Security and Medicaid matches, right? What is it then? What was the tips? If there's any tips, what's the tips? How many dogs do we do? What's the average ticket per dog, right? What is the average rebooking percentage, right? And then what is your gross profit? What's your net profit if you were to touch this money, right? I break it all down every day. For years, we've been doing this for years. And guess what? I can tell you now that if my wife's shop has 15 dogs, what dollar range we'll be in within about $50, right? If you tell me how many dogs we have, what the average ticket is, I'll tell you what the profit is within maybe $10. Now, because I already know all the variables. I know what the average hourly wages is going to take in order for me to do 20 dogs at a really good job, right? Because we've done the numbers. Do you know your numbers that well? Because guess what? I didn't know my numbers the first time I tried it. The second time I tried it, I couldn't predict them that well. Why am I so good at numbers? Because I have repetition. I have commitment. I have belief that I will get this pattern figured out. If I don't know it right away, guess what? That's okay, right? And so if you have limiting beliefs that you adopted from your parents, like you're not good enough, or this is what my priorities have to be, or I can only make money 40 hours a week, I can't make money more than that, or whatever. And you're okay with that, that's fine. Just don't complain. Don't complain about your life, right? If you don't believe that you can actually achieve something on your own, then I want you to do 4 different things. One of 4 different things, or more than one of these 4 different things. The first thing I want you to do is look up on YouTube or Google and find who is the best at the one thing that you're trying to get better at. Is it a video game? Is it a business? If it is, what industry, right? Are you learning how to trade in the market? Are you trying to get into real estate, right? I'm not talking about the best sales guy. I'm talking about the best person. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like if you're trying to find the best real estate guy, right? They're out there, but typically they're not going to be the best guy selling real estate coaching, right? The guys who sell real estate coaching and the guys who do real estate, they're 2 different people. Find the guy that's already consistently doing it now, right? Find them on YouTube. Find them on Google. Start following them. Start reading their blogs. Getting all of the amazing content you can, right? If you have some extra money, then, hit them up. See if you can pay them to be a mentor, right? If they're doing really well, they're most likely not going to want to mentor you unless they're at an age in their life or at a time frame in their life where giving back, mentally and everything else, bringing another person into the game is something that they're passionate about. Sam Walton had that passion. He loved to be able to help people and ask questions and everything else on those things, right? So that's the first thing I want you to do. I want you to look on YouTube and look on Google. Don't look at the person who's selling the stuff. Look for the person who's doing the stuff, right? Second thing that I want you to do is create a strategy or a commitment policy. Like I'm going to buy 10 books about this topic. I'm going to buy 20 books about this topic, and I'm going to read 2 to 3 books a month for the next 6 months, right? Whatever the case may be, you want to start getting a strategy, and the only way you can do that is with education, with resources, with intelligence, developing that common sense, that muscle memory in your brain, that mind memory, right? And the only way you can do that is by learning. You have to learn. You got to grow. Having a mentor is not enough. You have to be able to understand the lingo, right? Do bankers have lingo? Yes. Do stock brokers have lingo? Do mortgage brokers have lingo? Do realtors have lingo, right? All of these guys, online advertisers, they all have lingo, right? They all have their stuff, right? So get educated. Get familiar. The third thing that I want you to do is I want you to find groups on social media. I want you to look for like that real estate group. I want you to look for that business group, that mastermind group on social media, whatever it is, right? Find the group, let them know that, hey, I want to join the group, and start seeing what people are posting on their Facebook and Instagram in that group, right? Get familiar with it. Once you've done one or all three of these things, then I feel you're ready to become a player in the game and start being willing to dispense a lot of money in towards of mentorship, a training program, because you've already proven that your ethics and your work ethic is already there. It's already there. Your work ethic is already there. If you can do enough activity to go on YouTube, go to people's websites, follow their blogs, buy 10 books and read all the books, and go to social media and find several groups that are doing this thing or whatever it is, contortion or whatever, and you're finding them and you're communicating with them and you're getting free content by asking questions and acting dumb, right? Acting dumb is a beautiful thing to do. Right? Because then you get the real information, and you can take notes, and you can try to apply baby steps in towards of starting the mental process of creating a strategy. Then I feel you're ready to spend some money on getting to the next level, because I actually think that it will benefit you, and one, it will hold you accountable, and two, you've already started creating that repetition, right? Going to a mastermind about a particular topic that you're not familiar with at all, haven't read any books at all, haven't watched any YouTube videos at all, don't have any friends on Facebook or Instagram groups at all, or any of that stuff, or LinkedIn groups, or any of those things at all, and you're just going to dump 25 grand into a mastermind, you're going to be part of that 90% that don't actually do anything after this group. That's the statistic, right? Out of 100 people that buy a business opportunity or a training platform, right? They don't do it. They don't do it. Did you know that the average college graduate that gets a degree in a particular field, that 90% of them are not in that field? How insane is that? How insane is that? We talked to a kid the other day, and he's going to school. He's going to college, right? He's going to college. Right? And what's funny is I was scrolling through Facebook. I get a ton of friend requests on Facebook, and I always try to delete some people that aren't really interacting and try to, add the new people. And as long as they're interacting and everything else, my assistant and myself, we won't really delete people, or we'll probably just end up leaving them eventually and just have a lot of people follow us, right? But, I have a lot of people. And I saw an ad, and Ty Lopez was on this ad, right? And he was just talking about what we were talking about a week ago. He said he talked to somebody at a gym, and this kid was going to college and was paying a lot of money to learn how to be a digital marketer. Now, we can all agree that Ty Lopez is an outstanding digital marketer. That guy knows how to sell online, right? I'll give him all the credit in the world in towards of selling online. The guy has got the goods, right? But the one thing he was saying, which is so true, is that this kid had been in school for 2 years straight. 2 years straight. And hasn't taken one class about digital marketing yet. Here's the kicker, right? He's taken all the electives. He's taken all the pre-qualifications to be able to be qualified to take the digital marketing courses. He has to take all these classes first, these English classes, these algebra classes, these history classes, all before he can take one digital marketing class. Like, to me, that's an absolutely absurd system, right? It's been taking this kid 2 years, hasn't taken one digital marketing class. Here's the kicker, right? This kid has paid $30,000 so far to take all these electives and hasn't learned one thing of value in the market he wants to get into. Here's another kicker. It's $30,000 a year. $30,000 a year. $60,000 this kid paid to learn digital marketing after 2 years and doesn't know it. Let me ask you a question. If he went intern for free at a digital marketing agency for 2 years, would he know a little bit about digital marketing? Yeah. Do digital marketing ad agencies like, or even like Google or Facebook, do they care that you have a degree in digital marketing? No. 90% of the people that work for these establishments that are like the super brain people that just get it, they just got it, they don't have degrees. You know, Apple is not looking for people with degrees, people, right? These big ass Fortune 500 conglomerate internet companies are not looking for people with degrees. But we're being told at a young age, at 18 years old, 17 years old, 16 years old, that you can go and make an investment of $120,000, spend 2 years not learning anything about anything that has to do with the field you want to learn, and that you're going to make $100,000 a year. It is not going to happen, my friend. So that is a limiting belief that I'm trying to wake people up from. So if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, listening to this podcast, you follow me on social media, you watch me on YouTube, I'm telling you right now that if your parents are telling you to go to college and learn how to be a digital marketer, that they're crazy. They're crazy. If you want to go to college to be anything else other than a teacher, a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, or a veterinarian, if you want to be anything outside of there, you need to not go to college, and you need to go to a trade school, or you need to go to an internship and intern in these places, right? Because otherwise you're going to end up with a bunch of student loan debt. What is the student loan debt as of today exactly? What do you think it is? Let me give you some honest statistics on where we are in student loans. We are over $1 trillion in student loan debt in this country. Did you know that 36% of kids that went to school, whether they dropped out or graduated, are not making their payments back to the student loans? They're not paying any payments at all to the student loans, Navi or nothing. You want to know why? Because they're not making any money to live. There's so many kids that are graduated. We are considered dumber than our parents, but we are the highest graduated university degree generation of all time. Not one generation has more degrees than millennials. Not one. We are the highest educated and the least paid group in this country. The highest educated and the lowest paid. And the reason why is because as we've been told this falsification that we need to go to school, get good grades, go to college, spend all this money in student loans, and we'll get a six-figure job, because that's what our parents were told, because that's when the education was really relevant and experience didn't really matter. But now experience matters and education is not that relevant. Isn't that funny? Right? It seems like a bait and switch, right? And so let me just tell you, if you have $100,000 in student loan debt, you can't file bankruptcy on it. You can't just like write it off. You can't just get credit repair and have it deleted. The only thing you can do is learn how to pay it off super quickly to avoid massive amortization. And what I'm saying is that there's people that have been paying these payments for over 10 years and their loan still doubles. Could you imagine paying off your car for 5 years and then when you go to look at the balance, it's doubled, right? Or your mortgage, right? You owe $1 million on your mortgage now, but you only bought the house for $300,000 and you've been making your mortgage payments. That's what student loans is doing to these people right now. And the reason why is because if you cannot afford to pay the actual payment of $580 a month, $940 a month, $1,800 a month, if you can't afford to make that payment, then what's going to happen is the interest is producing, let's say, $400 a month. And your payment is only $99 a month because that's all you can afford. That $300 is going in the back of the loan, and then they're going to start charging interest on that interest. That's how amortization of this process works, right? So of this $1.2 trillion of student loan debt, they probably only spent, let's say, $500 million in money to, or $500 billion, $500 billion to these universities, right? But the interest is what's called the debt to double and not almost triple, right? And so you need to learn amortization. Go online, go on YouTube, type in how to pay off a mortgage in 7 years. A mortgage is pretty much lined up 99% of the same way as a student loan. And you'll realize that it's much, much cheaper to use a credit card to pay off a student loan than it is to pay off a student loan or pay off a credit card using a student loan. You'll realize that. Again, back to your limiting beliefs, back to the beliefs, right? Athletes, pro athletes, dude, I mean, like, you guys need to look up and see what these guys are doing on a daily basis, right? The support system that you have, really measure what kind of supporting system do you actually have, right? Do you actually have a good support system? If you don't have a good support system, you need to go out there and leverage the pillar of relationships and create a better support system, right? I didn't have a good support system. When I got out of the military, my wife at the time left me. We moved to Utah. My whole family's in New York. I had nothing. I stayed in Utah to be a daddy. Strictly, period, end of story. Just to be a daddy to my kids. And for a year, I was by myself and I was depressed. And I got some friends finally. They started calling me and inviting me to stuff. We started training together, working out together, playing football together, had some fun. And I got out of my funk because I had a support system. I graduated college because I had a support system, right? College wasn't easy for me either, I had a support system. The pro athletes have a ginormous support system. Coaches, mentors, nutritionists, teammates, friends and family, so on and so forth. The support system is so high at that level. But to get to that level, it's a very lonely road. It's a very, very lonely road, right? The biggest thing, if you're a drug addict, and sex addict, a alcoholic, or whatever the case may be, right? They have what's called the 12 steps, right? And they know that if you do all 11 steps and don't do step number 12, that you're going to use again. You're going to drink again. You're going to relapse. They know it. It's statistically proven that if you do the 11 out of 12 steps, you're going to relapse. What's the 12th step? The 12th step is to hold somebody else accountable to their sobriety, to be their supporting cast in sobriety, right? So if you're a drug addict, if you're an alcoholic, and you do the first 11 steps and not do the 12th, and not help people to stay clean, if you don't actually become a leader in that, they know that you're going to use again. It's been statistically proven over and over and over again. And I believe that's true. I believe them when they say that, because I love helping people. When I level up, the first thing I want to do is I want to grab who I love the most, who I care about the most, and I want to level them up. And I had to learn the hard way that people don't want to level up, man. Their limiting beliefs will say that you leveled up wrong, or you did this and that's why you leveled up and I can't do that stuff, or you had this and I didn't have it, or all these other things to level up, right? And the people that you love the most are going to be the ones that criticize you the most for leveling up. That's why your belief in yourself is so important, right? So have that important belief. Believe that you can, and stop believing that you can't. Start researching what it is that you want to do. Look it up on YouTube, look it up on Google. Find the people that are doing it, not the people who are just selling it, right? And then I want you to look up Facebook groups, Instagram groups, LinkedIn groups of people who are doing it on a massive level. Go to groups with 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people. that are involved in these groups doing this stuff. You want to be a public speaker? You need to be in Facebook groups with other public speakers. You need to be on YouTube learning how to publicly speak. You need to be finding a mentor once you've done all those things, you've read all these books to be able to, do you still want to be a public speaker? Then be one. But too many people spend money without actually realizing what it is that they want to do. So I'm going to end the podcast on these 4 rules, right? These main 4 rules. Number 1, stop saying you can't. Stop saying you can't, or you don't have enough time, or this or whatever. Stop making excuses for your comfort zone to subconsciously sabotage you, right? That's all you're doing, right? That's number 1. Stop saying you can't and stop sabotaging yourself. Rule number 2 is go through the 4-step process. Figure out what it is that you want to do. Find the people on YouTube and on Google that are already doing it now. Look them up on social media and find groups that are people that are doing it now and interact with those people. And then lastly, go into a mentorship program if you've done all those things. But I want you to read at least 3 to 5 books before you pay any money out of pocket. If you can go to YouTube and spend 10 hours on YouTube. If you can go to Google and spend 5 hours on a website reading some blogs. If you can go to a social media Facebook group and interact with people and make some friends. If you can read 5 books and you still want to do it, then invest. Then invest in yourself. But if you can't do those things first, then you're not serious. And you're going to be part of that 90-some percentile of people that learn but never do. Right? That's the second thing I want you to do. The third thing that I want you to do is to measure your supporting cast, right? Really look at your supporting cast. Are you by yourself? Are you around others that influence you and want to elevate you? Are you around 5 guys every day who make less than $50,000, less than $100,000, less than the money that you want to make? And you want to be able to find new friends and everything else? You need to start finding people. You want to know the number 1 way that I love to make friends, right? And Jared thinks I'm crazy about this, but I love it, right? Is I like to find ways to put money in their pocket. I like to find ways to give them value. If I really want to be someone's, part of someone's network, I find ways to get them paid. I find ways that they're leaving money on the table, and I don't educate them on how to do it. I actually will go do it for them. I'll go show them how to do it, right? I'll go, do it for them. I'll go offer something. I'll find something I got to do to get their attention, right? Because they're levels and levels and levels above me. Why in the world would they ever want to talk to me if I can't deliver value? If I want to take value from them, I have to first deliver value to them to make it fair, right? Otherwise, you got to pay money, right? So that's the third thing, is having a support system, right? You need to make sure that you have a support system, okay? And they have to be on higher levels than you, okay? And the last thing that I want you to do is practice. I want you to be willing to fail 5 times. I want you to be willing to fail 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. I want you to think like Thomas Edison. Those are the 4 things that I want you to do, right? I want you to be open-minded and not be scared to fail. I want you to try, but on a small, calculated scale, right? If you want to be a basketball player, I want you to make a mental note to do 100 shots a day. Then I want you to do 100 3-pointers a day. Then I want you to do 100 layups with your left hand if you're right-handed, and vice versa if you're not, right? I want you to get really, really good with that left, right? And practice and be willing to get beat. Be willing to put it all on the line and play full out. Have that belief that even if you lose, you're still better than them, right? That's one of my obsessions. That's one of my advantages, right? When I'm talking and I'm training someone to be like a master salesperson, right? Because I love sales. The sales process, the conversion process for businesses, dude, is my obsession, right? It is literally the hardest part for businesses to be able to monetize that data, right? To be able to monetize that attention, to be able to leverage channel partnerships, to be able to get targeted audiences and nurture those people for conversion, right? Like that is my obsession. But I will tell you that if the person's not willing to try and measure the results and figure out the fail completely on their face, to be able to listen and see what the market is telling us, I can't teach that person anything. And so before they even come work with me, I tell them, hey, look up my stuff on YouTube. Look at my blog. Go to my website, right? Read a couple books that I'm telling you to read, right? If you can do those three things, then I know you're serious about really growing your business, and come talk to me. I would love to freaking help you. I would love to help you take your business from 5 million to 40 billion. I would love to help you take your business from 100,000 to, 2 million a year, right? I would love to have those jumps with you, right? And the only way I know how to do that is by creating proof of concepts. That's one of the tricks. But a proof of concept, you have to be willing to fail and fall flat on your face to be able to find the proven concepts. Because Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times. He learned 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. Are you willing to fail 1,000 times to be able to learn 1,000 ways how not to make a proven concept in your business, in your life, in your leveling up? Whatever that case may be, it all starts with your belief system, right? And believing in your future truth. Hey, this is Rob Clark. This is Lifeaneur. I hope you got a value. I hope you got a benefit. I hope this was awesome for you. If you like this so much, then please subscribe and get updates. I do 2 to 3 podcasts a week, probably more, maybe less occasionally here and there. And follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook. And if you found this content to be super awesome for you, and only if it's super awesome, then share it with a friend who you think would get value out of it. Everything that I focus on at Lifeaneur is actionable content now and future actionable content later. And I want to be able to expose what your limiting beliefs are and what the biggest lies in history are today. Thank you. And make it a profitable one.